a lame duck. Yes, that's the focus of tonight's angle. If you've caught any news about the border crisis in the last 24 hours, you have been subjected to a disgusting and blatant attempt at emotional manipulation. Now, at a time when we actually need something called real reporting, instead we get this.
But look at the photo. See for yourself. That group includes men, women, and several children, some of them trying to cross after being denied access to the port of entry where they could legally claim asylum.
One photo shows a mother struggling to scoop up her children and flee the fumes.
I mean, this photo, shared around the world, shows a family running from the fumes.
That's it. It's the one photo. On Sunday, in a brazen act of lawlessness, scores of migrants attempted to rush the border, and they placed our agents, our sovereignty, in peril. Border Patrol had two choices. Let them overrun the U.S. border, like what they did to Mexico's or Guatemala's, or use non-lethal tear gas to repel the crowd. Now, these are the only images the media are circulating. Women and children who appear to be running for their lives. The hyperbole, the meter in the hyperbole, was in full tilt mode.
This is a shameful American moment. It's a shameful American moment. Those children, those pictures are the pictures we saw at the end of the Vietnam War.
Now, no one wants to see children in distress. But that comment was an embarrassment. And remember, Donald Trump didn't create this crisis. His foremost responsibility is safeguarding the nation, which is what he's doing. Reporters who are either lazy or agenda-driven are using their own toxic agents to blur the eyes of the public on this critical issue. Now, this is what really happened on Sunday.
The way these people rushed the border was absolutely monstrous. They pushed women and children up front, and then behind those women and children, they started throwing rocks, cement bricks. They started throwing bottles at our Border Patrol agents.
No, just a bunch of modern-day patriots. And as for the mothers and children, well, did they make up the bulk of those arrested? No. Here's our San Diego border chief, Rodney Scott.
We ended up making about 42 arrests. Only 8 of those were females, and there were only a few children involved. The vast majority of the people we're dealing with are adult males. Similar to what we saw the first wave of the caravan that came up about a week or so ago.
Now, in total now, about 69 arrests have been made, and the crisis continues to escalate, which the angle repeatedly warned you would happen. A new migrant caravan from Central America, the second in 6 months, is now headed up through Mexico to the United States this week. Crusading reporters are feeding the narrative that anyone opposed to welcoming these caravanners into our country are cruel, horrible, awful, rotten people. These caravans, it's got to stop. I mean, it's untenable. It's unsustainable. The people in this country want orderly immigration. Well, of course, the atom splitters over at the other networks claimed it was no big deal.
There is no invasion. There is no emergency.
They're panicked about this fake invasion.
For everybody out there that was telling me, no, it's a real story, we're worried about the caravan, they're coming, and Trump's strong enough to... I go back to what I said about Martians coming to my backyard. Well, they're not coming. And the caravan's not coming. The leprosy's not coming.
A thought. It's not coming. It's not just the media know-nothings, though, who need to be exposed here. We're making a list, and we're checking it twice. And others have been very naughty as well on this issue. Now, one of the prime drivers of these never-ending caravans are groups such as Pueblos Sin Fronteras and the Chicago-based Centro Sin Fronteras. They've been organizing this caravan and other caravans for months, in fact, years. And Pueblos Sin Fronteras even put out a press release, this was last March, that reads like some type of primer for a borderless world. This is my favorite line in the press release. We demand of Mexico and the United States that they open the borders to the U.S. because we are as much citizens as the people of the countries where we are and or travel. What? Okay, they're not American citizens, but this is a classic citizens of the world claptrap that's been funded by billionaires who want transmigration to be a universal right. Now, number 2 on our naughty list, activist judges. Acting like a super legislature, district court judges continue to frustrate the president's every initiative when it comes to immigration enforcement. Just last week, the president was hit with two devastating rulings. In the first case, Judge John S. Teagar, an Obama appointee from the Ninth Circuit, Natch, barred the president from limiting asylum claims to those who enter the country legally. Then in Michigan, Judge Mark Goldsmith ordered the release of nearly 100 Iraqis who were incarcerated under the Trump travel ban. Now, all of this explains why the president is running very short on patience.
It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a disgrace, frankly. Some judge sitting in some location very far away is telling our incredible military and law enforcement what to do, and it's not right. And it's been going on like that for a long time.
Yeah, these nationwide injunctions have got to be stopped. Now, he's absolutely right. Certain judges have completely abandoned their Article III limits and are totally out of control. But Congress, perhaps more than all of the other culprits on this naughty list, deserves the most of the blame here. Now, both parties could have solved this nightmare had they acted to shore up the asylum loopholes while Obama was still president. Democrats should have struck a deal also with Trump while the iron was hot last January. Republicans were willing to grant a pathway to citizenship for nearly 2 million illegals, fixing the DACA problem. He'll do this for a limit on chain migration and visa lottery and, of course, the funding for his border wall. Now, Trump was actually excited about the prospect of this deal.
I will consider that a great achievement to solve the DACA problem. It's been out there for a long time. These are good people. These are people that should be able to stay in this country.
Now, it didn't matter. Schumer rejected this out of hand. It was more important in the end for the Democrats to deny Trump a win on immigration than it was for the Democrats to agree to protect our country and even avoid the type of crisis we see on the border now. Now, at the same time, many weak-kneed Republicans, many of whom are captive to agribusiness or the hospitality or construction industries, were unwilling to go to the mat for the Trump agenda. So nothing ended up getting done. With 12 legislative days left until they lose power in the House and only 15 in the Senate, Republicans must unite and make passing Trump's immigration enforcement agenda a priority, working through Christmas and shutting down the government, yes, if that's necessary. This is a crisis that must be addressed immediately. And we know that once Nancy has the gavel back, the Democrats' answer to scenes like this will be to just simply allow the situation to worsen, encouraging thousands more to storm our borders and put women and children at risk. The Republicans, meanwhile, have a chance to make this short session of Congress a lot less lame by addressing the most immediate problem facing our country today. But I am telling you, if the Republicans duck it once again, they shouldn't expect to be back in charge anytime soon. And that's the angle. Joining me now with reaction is House Majority Whip Steve Scalise, author of the great new book, Back in the Game, along with Tom Homan, former acting director of ICE and a Fox News contributor. Congressman, let's start with you. The House GOP only has 12 days left. Was I too harsh in my angle there on where I'm laying?
Laura, I think you laid out the landscape really well, and clearly this goes back to Barack Obama's presidency when he created the DACA problem without ever trying to solve it. He said literally, come to America illegally, bring your kids here illegally. He never tried to fix it. They never, in fact, when Pelosi had the House, they had a supermajority in the Senate. They never tried to bring a bill to fix the problem. They wanted a political issue. And so they never tried to fix it. As you pointed out again, President Trump comes into office. Chuck Schumer initially was willing to work with him on a solution to DACA that included funding for the wall. Then the radical left went nuts, and Schumer pulled that deal off the table. We've tried to pass bills through the House to solve the interior loophole problems that you've cited so many times, as well as funding the wall. Not one Democrat. We've had two different approaches on this. So no matter where you are on this, there was a chance for you to vote to solve the problem. Not one Democrat voted for any of those bills.
Could have shut down the government, right?
Well, we still have, by the way, in the next 2 weeks, the Department of Homeland Security's budget expires at the end of November. And this is going to be one more battle that we're going to have, and it's going to happen in the next few weeks right here.
But hearing Tom, Joni Ernst was on one of the other shows last night, or yesterday. I watched it last night. Republican senator from Iowa was basically saying, we can't shut down this government for the wall. We can't do. These are the Republicans that we're dealing with here. I mean, Steve Scalise has done a yeoman's work with everything he's been through to try to stand for the American people. There are not many who will. You've seen this. You and I sat here at this table, Tom, and you said to me, watch what happens. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. And right now we have 5,000 people a week crossing our border illegally, separate from the caravan.
Look, I've been at this game for 34 years, and unfortunately, everything I said is coming true. And I tell you, we had some great Republican congressmen take the bull by the horns. You had McCall Goodlatte bill was a great bill.
Which was great.
And a lot of the Republicans, some of the Republicans didn't support it. Of course, no Democrats did, but that fixed the problem. It fixed the loopholes. It fixed all the loopholes and gave some relief. Perfect bill. And I said it many times in your show, Laura, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat. There's no downside on securing the border. None.
But Paul Ryan is on his way out. I like him personally, but he has never wanted to fund this wall. I'm going to say it. Everyone, Paul Ryan has never wanted to fund this wall. He didn't want to deal with this problem for a whole bunch of reasons. He was never comfortable with the president's immigration agenda. I think that, looking back, that ended up really hurting the Republicans. If you don't have someone at the helm who's championing what the president is doing, and I don't think McConnell really wanted to do it either. I mean, he talks a good game, but I don't think either of them really wanted to do it.
Yeah, we were able to get $1.5 billion of new funding for border wall in this year's budget. Obviously, we want more. The president's asked for $5 billion. I'd like to see us get there. We've had a number of bills to try to solve that problem. Let me make this point about the end of the year funding for the Department of Homeland Security. When people talk about a government shutdown, they try to use it in a pejorative term to try to scare people. Over 70% of the United States government is fully funded until the end of next year's fiscal year, including the Department of Defense, which is critically important. In the past, you saw Obama use our troops as hostages to try to say, hey, the troops won't get paid unless you give me X, Y, or Z. We have now fully funded the entire Department of Defense, including giving a pay raise to our troops. That goes through September 30th of next year. So now all we're talking about is an important part of government, but it's less than 30%, including the Department of Homeland Security. That's where the wall funding comes in. So there will be no widespread government shutdown. It's all about funding the Department of Homeland Security and building the wall.
Well, I have to add this. In addition to the wall funding, ICE needs funding for beds. Because if ICE can't detain people arrested at the border and it's catch and release again, more caravans are going to come. There's no consequence to deterrence. Why would they stop? We need to detain these people.
Rodney Scott, I know you know him. I've interviewed him so many times, including down at the border in San Diego. He said what we're seeing, contrary to what all of these bleeding heart media types, most of whom would not sponsor illegal immigrants if they had to personally guarantee their economic independence, they would never do it. But they talk a good emotional game when you see the pictures, the sad pictures of the people fleeing But Rodney Scott knows this sector better than anyone, said this. Let's watch.
What I saw on the border yesterday was not people walking up to Border Patrol agents and asking to claim asylum. They were chanting, waving a Honduran flag and throwing rocks at the agents. If they were truly asylum seekers, they would have just walked up with their hands up and surrendered, and that did not take place.
And I know Rodney Scott's a great American patriot. And I'll add this, look, the border chased that sent the tear gas out, sent it on rock throwers. They didn't send out women and children. Of course, you know, the wind grips and that happened. However, you know, I want to throw a shout out to NBC. They did a great story tonight. You know what they did? They interviewed that woman with her 2 children picture, and she came out and said she was coming to the country if you join her husband who's illegally in the country in Louisiana. Nothing about fear and persecution. So I hope that's Exhibit A on her future political asylum cases. Exactly what I've said. People are coming here to get a job, or people are coming here to rejoin.
So it's a big lie. Well, what I'm trying to illustrate for people is that we actually need real reporters who put aside whether they don't like Trump, and they say, this is how we got here. This real persecution's happening all over the world. Congressman, you know what's happening to people like Asia Bibi, this woman in Pakistan, a Catholic
who... this point, too, Laura. President Trump was very clear in saying there is a legal way to come to America to seek asylum, and there's an illegal way. We're not going to let you just storm a border and climb a fence,
Go to a port of entry and state your case. Make your claim. That's the way to do it.
Mexico's going to help us, I think.
And the Tijuana mayor, even the Tijuana mayor has said they're getting overridden with some of these people that are coming to attack law enforcement officers, not to seek asylum. And by the way, most of them pass through at least one other country already.
How many laws do they
violate,
Tom? How many laws do they violate before they get to San Ysidro, on average?
Several. When they enter country, they enter country illegally. First crime is history. However, a lot of these people have been reported before. So when they enter the country, that's a fact. But one thing I want to say before the make sure that you get this out there. Vote very serious. Put out your report. Get rocks thrown at you and tell me there wasn't a better response. It was non-lethal law enforcement response that was proper, considering the being assaulted.
And where were they when the Obama administration was using tear gas?
Oh yeah, back in 2013, you have to disperse a crowd. How do you disperse a crowd? But Rihanna calls it terrorism, guys. Rihanna's upset. She doesn't have security at her concerts, all right? Let's let everybody do her concerts. Anyone wants to go on stage with Rihanna, not only can they go on stage, they can get a hot meal at the festival. I don't think so. Guys, thanks so much. And what we saw yesterday, the border reminded us that the media is expanding the caravan. It's getting worse by the day. Exchange in particular, that stood out.
Challenge you on one of the statements that you made. Invasion. It's a group of migrants moving up from Central America towards the border with the U.S. Your campaign had an ad showing migrants climbing over walls and so on. But they weren't actors. They're not going to be doing that. They weren't actors. They're hundreds of miles away, though. They're hundreds and hundreds of miles away. That's not an invasion.
None of these reporters should still be working in this business. It's a dereliction of duty. There should be a price to be paid there. But telling the president he was wrong.
It is really an amazing thing to go back and look at. It looked bad at the time, the way he was the guy that they all rally behind. And he could not have been more wrong about the facts, but he's actually just doing what a lot of media have done. There have been so many false statements said about this caravan, whether it's that it's largely comprised of women and children, or that these are valid asylum seekers, or that there is no criminal element, or that they will never make it to the border, or that they will never scale the border, or that they are no threat to sovereignty and they're no threat to the United States. All of that was completely exploded this weekend, and it would be nice to see the media react more honestly about that. Instead, they're doing what you pointed out in the first segment, which is taking a picture of one woman and her children and making them.
I saw that coming a mile away. Didn't you see that a mile away? Once they got the photo of the woman wearing the Tangled shirt, or whatever that cartoon character was, and you knew that was going to be it, because that is the lazy man's way of reporting a story. Lazy, lazy, lazy. Do your job. Put your Trump bias in the back seat for 5 seconds and try to be honest about this story. I find it appalling. I got to play something for you, Molly, that even you may not believe. This is Mike Lupica, who's really good at writing about sports, is now a political guy. This is what he said. Let's watch. I think we have the Mike Lupica. Do we have it? It's coming.
And I keep asking this question. When's the first guy from the caravan going to shoot up a synagogue on a Saturday morning? When's the first person from a caravan going to shoot up a dance club in Southern California or a country music festival in Las Vegas? Every time there's another mass shooting in this country, one of my first reactions after I'm struck again by the horror of the routineness in this country is, please don't let it be an immigrant.
Please don't let it be an immigrant. Real quick, Molly.
Well, human nature is the same across immigrant or non-immigrant populations. What comments like that are doing are saying that you aren't allowed to have a conversation about rule of law, national sovereignty, borders. That's inappropriate.
All right. As we noted in tonight's angle, the left and the media all use this emotional imagery to tell you just one side of the story from the border. What really happened?
他是我们经理，长得是又老又丑又胖，还来参加马拉松，指不定能不能到终点呢。
Here's a report
你知道
from
我
Fox
是谁吗？
News' Jeff
你是谁啊？
in Tijuana, Mexico.
我是后边那个又老又丑又胖的人的
Well, the scene outside the main migrant shelter
那你知道我是谁吗？
You have people walking in all sorts of different directions. Thousands still living inside, others now moving to the outside where they were living in tents. And despite all these crowds that you're seeing out here, things are relatively peaceful compared to what just happened the day before. U.S. Customs and Border Protection reporting that rocks were thrown at least 4 agents. No injuries, but as a result, tear gas and pepper spray balls were used to get the crowd to disperse. There were also several arrests and others who just ran to safety looking for cover.
When we went to that side, it was when they started throwing tear gas at us. And there were many children who fainted. Many young children fainted. My daughter also got gassed. Pregnant women, and there are many men who also fainted.
There were arrests on both sides of the border, both in Tijuana and in the United States. 79 people arrested in the United States for trying to cross the border illegally. And despite that showing of force from authorities on both sides of the border, many of the migrants out here remain hopeful that one day they will somehow still be able to gain access to the U.S. Laura?
All right, Jeff, thanks. Now, what about the agents involved? Is anyone telling their stories? Well, imagine if a mass of humanity charged at you, wanting to enter your home, maybe come live with you for a while, throwing rocks and waving another country's flag. Well, while the agents themselves aren't able to speak out at the moment, they are allowed to talk with their representatives. One joins us now to share what he's learned. Hector Garza is the National Border Patrol Council president and is with us tonight from San Antonio. Hector, what are the people on your team telling you on the ground? You just saw a report about what happened. A very emotional woman who said they just started throwing tear gas canisters at us. That's not actually what happened, but that's what she said. What did they encounter?
Well, our agents were actually under attack. They were assaulted. These migrants were throwing rocks. They were throwing glass bottles. And they were also throwing other debris that was in the area. And as a matter of fact, some of our agents were hit on their helmets with these rocks. And there was minor injuries. There was also damage to government vehicles, and their windows were broken. So this was an assault. This was an invasion on our agents, on our country. And our agents had to respond with a very low level force, which is the tear gas that was deployed.
Now, we have heard from everyone from Mexican government officials to Guatemalan officials who've said from the beginning that the use of women and children at the front of these lines, whether they're crossing the bridge into Mexico from Guada or breaking the border into Guatemala from Honduras, that this was done very deliberately with careful planning. And that, unfortunately, the children end up as casualties. The ones who aren't trafficked end up as casualties in all this, or injured or traumatized. But they want to blame Hector, President Trump, because I guess the border should just be open and people should be able to come in 100 at a time and fill out a form and say, I want asylum.
Well, if these people think that they're going to do the same thing that they did on the Guatemala-Mexico border, they're wrong. Our agents are properly trained. They're going to be using reasonable force. And something that they're reporting to us is that these migrants were using these children as human shields as they were launching rocks at our agents. So they had no regard for human life. They did not care about the other migrants. They did not care about the kids. And our agents did a great job by using this tear gas to be able to disperse the crowd. Now, our agents could have been justified to use a higher level of force, but they did not. They used a very low level of force, and they were successful. They did a great job out there.
But, Hector, what if the numbers increase? What if they swell? And
well, we're going to have to keep using the same strategy. The good thing is that we have the military, and that's what President Trump did for us. We're going to have to deploy more resources to the area, but it is going to get out of control, and that's why Congress needs to act, and we have to make sure that we do build that wall so that we can avoid these type of confrontations, because people will end up getting hurt. Now, again, our agents are properly trained, and they're going to do the best job that they can out there. But again, these caravans, they need to stop, and we need to do our job. And also, Mexico has to do their job as well in helping us on the southern border.
Well, they should never have been trucked up to the border. Many of them were trucked up. They should never have been allowed to cross into Mexico. There's a series of things that had to happen for this situation to result in the crisis that it is today. Hector, Thank you very much. And please thank the Border Patrol for us. They're doing incredible work under very difficult circumstances and being maligned by everyone from Hollywood actors and actresses who themselves, how many immigrants would they sponsor in their homes if they had to? And, politicians and business types. So we really thank you so much. And by the way, those crashing our southern border, of course, are referred to in blanket terms like they're migrants seeking a better life. They're asylum seekers. They're would-be refugees. But they wouldn't be criminals, right? No. Joining us now to explain is former immigration judge Art Arthur, currently a resident fellow in law at the Center for Immigration Studies. Art, you've dealt with this issue. You and I have been talking about this now for months. And I'm actually sad to say that we predicted this because it would have been great if this never happened because people's lives are put in jeopardy, our sovereignty is imperiled, and now we have the vilification of President Trump because the situation became, the boiling pot that it is right now.
You see a variety of crimes that these individuals have committed. I mean, entering the United States illegally is a violation of 8 United States Code Section 1325. It's a misdemeanor, as Mr. Homan indicated before. Some of these individuals have entered the United States previously. That's a felony. Assault on a federal officer is a crime. It's a felony in and of itself. So we see a number of these individuals committing crimes. In addition, Secretary of Homeland Security Kirstjen Nielsen indicated that there are 500 criminals and gang members that are included in this group of individuals. Quite frankly, I think that number's probably low because the numbers that we have is only as good as the intelligence we have.
And Art, my other Border Patrol sources are telling me that 5,000 illegal immigrants a week, the whole caravan down there, a week, are crossing other sectors. As everyone's focused on this, 5,000 coming in through Yuma, through Laredo, the Rio Grande, that's being swamped.
The RGV is completely overrun right now. And
what's the RGV again? Oh, Rio Grande Valley.
Rio Grande Valley.
Oh, I'm quick. Thank you.
The Rio Grande Valley is completely overrun right now. These individuals have gone to Tijuana probably because it's the Ninth Circuit and they have the best chance of getting relief and getting released there. But the fact is that we see a huge number of migrants enter through Matamoros and Eagle Pass. So, those sectors are also overrun by individuals. And again, the first act that they commit in the United States is a criminal.
And they've committed many crimes along the way, other countries' sovereignty, sometimes assaults on other countries, Border Patrol. This is what Allison Camerata, who I've always liked, but she's on another network, this is her argument about the current crisis now and why what we're seeing is a sign that everything's working. We don't need a wall. Let's watch.
Shutting down the border worked, and it also proves that we don't need a border wall because the migrants went out of their way to go to the Tijuana entrance because the rest of the border was considered too hazardous, too dangerous to cross. So they went an extra hundreds of miles to the port of entry of Tijuana because they considered that the easiest. So, in other words, the system is actually working.
Did some reporter, was a reporter in a control room whispering, say that, I mean, she can't actually believe that.
The reason why the rest of the border is so dangerous is because it's so controlled by the drug cartels. And the drug cartels are getting their funding from exactly the same smugglers who are smuggling these individuals to the United States. We are supporting the drug cartels by allowing these individuals to be smuggled into our country.
But we just said the other sectors are being overwhelmed as we speak right now.
Absolutely.
Every day of the week. So it's like, oh, it's a sign it's working. I got to play one more thing. Tearjerker moments. Rick Wilson on another network tonight. Let's watch.
This is not just, the terrible threat of little shoeless girls wearing a Hello Kitty backpack at the border. Oh, my God, whip out the tear gas. But it's done deliberately and methodically and cruelly.
So Trump is doing this cruelly, focusing on the little girl with the Hello Kitty backpack.
Border Patrol agents are getting rocked along the border. I've been in a Border Patrol vehicle that got hit by a cinder block, and I can tell you right now, Laura, it's the sort of thing that you really want to have a strong response to. We need to have a strong response so we can make sure that our agents are safe, and that's what the president's attempting to do.
You agree with me? Congress has to act. Asylum loopholes have to be closed.
And I've been saying that for a year, that for more than a year.
And if they don't do it, we're going to have more of this.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks so much. And what's going on with the Mueller investigation? We haven't talked about that in a few weeks. Some big developments in the Mueller investigation tonight, including a plea deal gone awry and another that may have been violated. For details, we're joined by Fox's Trace Gallagher. What would we do without a trace? That's what I say. Did anyone ever use that pun before, Trace?
Nobody has, but I don't know what you do, Laura. But breaking tonight, we should note, Special Counsel Robert Mueller's team has now submitted new court filings claiming former Trump campaign chair Paul Manafort violated his plea agreement by lying to prosecutors and the FBI. Now, the special counsel didn't say what he lied about, only that he did so on a, quote, variety of subject matters. Manafort denies he lied. He was convicted in August on 8 counts of bank and tax fraud. In September, he agreed to cooperate with Mueller to avoid a second trial and for a possible reduced prison sentence. The government now wants Manafort sentenced immediately. Meantime, ex-Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos reported to a medium security prison today in Wisconsin to begin serving his 14-day sentence for lying to the FBI about his interactions with Russian contacts. Papadopoulos claims in April of 2016 he was in the UK and was told by a professor with ties to Russia that the Russians had obtained thousands of Hillary Clinton emails. Remember, this was months before hacked emails from Clinton campaign chair John Podesta were posted on WikiLeaks. Then in August 2016, Papadopoulos told an Australian diplomat the Russians had derogatory information on Hillary Clinton. The diplomat reportedly passed that info on to Western intelligence. Papadopoulos now believes he was set up and is willing to testify before the Senate Intel Committee. And now Jerome Corsi, an associate of Trump confidant Roger Stone, says he is rejecting a plea deal from Robert Mueller's team. The special counsel reportedly has evidence showing that 2 months before John Podesta's hacked emails went public, Jerome Corsi knew WikiLeaks had them. And Mueller's team is examining whether Corsi passed that information along to Roger Stone. But Corsi says he did not have inside information from WikiLeaks. Instead, he, quote, connected the dots, saying 2 months before the Podesta emails went public, he logically deducted that Julian Assange had them. Mueller's investigators apparently not buying it. Laura.
Trace, thanks so much. And joining me now is Saul Weisenberg, former deputy independent counsel on the Whitewater Lewinsky investigation. Saul, we haven't seen you for a while, so I'm so excited to have you on. But why are you not here? You're there. Now, what does this tell you that Mueller is focusing so much of his effort now on someone like old Jerome Corsi? He's in his 70s. He's done a lot of writing, colorful writing, interesting writing. You know, a lot of people really like his stuff. Is he grasping at straws here? What is this?
Well, from the very beginning of his tenure, Mueller has taken the position that if you lie to us, and obviously it's his view as to whether or not they've lied, but if you lie to us, we're going to prosecute you. And that's really something that a lot of aggressive special counsels have done. Patrick Fitzgerald did it in the Scooter Libby case. And the reason they do this is they're here for a limited time. They know they're going to get criticized publicly, like they all are, like Starr was, like Archie Cox was, and like Mueller has been. And so they want to strike terror into the hearts of the people that they deal with and they question. And Mueller has been very consistent in this regard. If you lie to us, we will charge you. So
well, this is what. Well,
I don't
hold
know
on, Saul. Yeah, but this is what prosecutor, and I'm speaking as an old defense counsel, but prosecutors have a big weapon in their arsenal, and the weapon is you